Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the situation report or the summary for the day of 983 for the 2nd of November. So we're going to start off with the Kursk front first, and then we go clockwise direction. Oops, it's not my WhatsApp, it's your WhatsApp. Yeah. So okay, we're gonna go into the Kursk front first. So at the Kursk front, there is some developments. So over in the northern flank, the Ukrainian mapping have shown that they have considered this entire area. They believe they considered and say that the Russians have now control over this northern flank in this area. However, we do have geolocation of Ukrainian forces in the forest, invalidating some of the Russian claims. Ukrainian forces are attacking Kameshevka in the north. There is fighting being geolocated and fight reported over at Pokrovsk and in Malaya Luknia, where the Russians are pushing. So this finally end this parallel universe for a long though we have been wondering for a long time regarding this northern flank, because there was no news for a long time, and I don't believe the Ukrainians are able to resupply and manage someone that is so far away, defending so far away with no strategic purpose. So the Russians have taken grounds around there. Some geolocation of airstrikes all over the place, which is pretty sad for the Ukrainians. So that's the current situation in the northern flank. In the western flank, where the main Russian push is, there is fighting reported over at Leonidovo, Novoivanovka, Lyubimovka, Tostilok, Darino, as well as Nikolaevo Darino. Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking over at Leonidovo, Novoivanovka, as well as Darino. So the Russian push is still pretty extensive. However, the lack of progress, I think the only progress we have is suddenly we have the reports of fighting at Leonidovo again. We haven't had this for quite some days already. I think the last attack was in August. So it was a long time. So there is some kind of push, some kind of Russian success maybe in this local area. However, for most cases, the front line have not really changed much. So the Russians still did not have much success in this offensive, in this western flank. The Ukrainians are doing whatever they can to block the Russians. So that is the current situation. However, even though the Ukrainians have success in the western flank, the Russians are making progress in the north. So that is the situation. There's nothing over in the Glushkovo sector at Novi Put. Over in the southern flank, the Russians are still attacking in the region of Blakovo, but there's not much details regarding the fighting around here. The Russians also did not, also seem to have stopped the push towards Sudja down the railway line in the area of Komarkov. We haven't seen reports of fighting around here, so that's about it over in the Kursk front. We go into the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, there is fighting reported in various locations. The of course the most normal one is fighting at okay, I wouldn't say normal. So there is fighting reported at Klipoke. We haven't seen fighting over here for some time. There's also fighting reported at Hatishchev. So we haven't seen fighting at Hatishchev as well for months. So Klipoke is also for months. So this is a bit peculiar, reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Fighting is also reported at Voschansk. So there is an airstrike geolocated in Voschansk, not particularly important. So this may suggest some kind of new operations from the Russians, but from the previous experience that we have with Zaporizhzhia, maybe nothing significant is currently happening. I mean, it could be just limited attacks, so we will have to monitor on. However, there's fighting outside of this main front line. The Russians attack the Pokrovsk. This is the first time we have reported on Pokrovsk. The Russians attack in this area. Previously, the target was Onorobivka, or in this area at what is this name called? Sonitsky Kozatok. Previously, the fighting is all in this area. So this is the first time we have seen fighting at Pokrovsk. So let's see, whether this comes into something, or is this just another, harassment, which is just to screw with the Ukrainians. So that's all from this area here. I think there's one more. So at the very end, just next to the Kupiansk front, the Russians also attack Stroivska. So I believe this is the second time. The first time was months ago in March, and this incursion is probably deliberately, again, diversion or distraction. Because like if you see the two attacks, the two flanking, the two weird attacks, they are at the end of Kharkiv front. They like on the two ends of the Kharkiv region. So this is a very very just to distract the Ukrainians. And but if the Russians really did push, I think the Ukrainians also will struggle. But tentatively, we will just assume that it's just some kind of a DRG attack, commandos attack. If you, don't understand what's DRG, just to go in to just stir some problem. So that's all. Over at the Kupiansk front, Russian forces are fighting in the region of Holubivka, as well as Petropavlivka. So that's about it. There's nothing new regarding this area. Over the Pischane front, this is still where the main fighting is still happening. Fighting is reported at Koleniskivka, Kurakhove, Zaporizhzhia, Pischane, Lozova, as well as Temikivka. So this is the current situation. Didn't change much. The lack of progress might suggest that the Ukrainians are putting up a strong defense, particularly over in the Kurakhivka, Kolesnikivka region. So that's all. That's about it in this area here. We move on. Over in the northern side of the northern flank of the Sverdlovsk front, Russian forces attacking at Zeleny High as well as Nadia. There is geolocation of Russian forces over at Andriivka, but that's about it. Not particularly important per se. So that's it. But it's important to note that the Ukrainians are the one that reported about Zeleny High, so which may be a tacit acknowledgement that they may have lost Vishneve to the Russians. So that could be it. In the southern flank, there is only fighting reported at Kharkiv, but that's all. We move into the Crimea front. At the Crimea front, Russian forces are attacking at Terny, Yampolivka, Torsk, as well as through the Serbiansky forestry. So that's all. And we move into the Siversk front. At the Siversk front, there's fighting reported at Ivano-Darivka and Vimka. Geolocation of Russian forces in the south of Ivano-Darivka, which is interesting, means that there is definitely Russian presence near to Ivano-Darivka that the Russians previously were geolocated long time ago. So this invalidated Ukrainian claims, confirming that the Russians indeed is in this area here. So that's the important part. However, no, this region is particularly big. Like even from this geolocation to the old geolocation in the village is almost 1.5 kilometers. So this area is particularly huge. So it's just huge, massive grounds of farmland in the middle of nowhere. So the Russians there's a geolocation of a Russian missile strike at the bridge near Zakine. So that bridge is gone. So we move on to the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, there is nothing much, only fighting reported at Chasiv Yar and towards Peteshne, but that's about it. We move into the New York front. At the New York front, there's a bit more. Fighting is reported at Druzhba, Toretsk, Skibinivka, Sukobalka, as well as Kalinove. Skibinivka, yeah. So anyway, that's all. There's no news regarding this area. These are just the general strategic reports that we have seen from the defense ministries. Over in the Pokrov front. At the Pokrov front, we have zoom into the Pokrov sector. Russian forces are still fighting and clashing with the Ukrainians over at Promin, Mykolaiivka, Krutya, Novosilka, as well as Sukiya. So largely there's no change in terms of the strategic and tactical situation in this area here. We move further south. Over the Selydove region, the Russian Defense Ministry in 2 days, latest within 1 hour of this recording, the Russian Defense Ministry have announced the capture of Vishneve. So this corroborates the mapping on the Ukrainian side, as well as the announcement from the pro-Russian sources that Vishneve has been captured. But fighting is still in this area here, because the capture is still pretty much, pretty arbitrary. The Ukrainians still operating probably in the region. Fighting is still reported in the region of Selydove. So it seems like the Ukrainians have decided to stay and fight in this area here. So the defense line is not particularly clear at this moment. but the Russians are not taking a lot of grounds at this moment since the capture of Selydove. So we shall see how this goes. It looks like the Ukrainians have lost their confidence in fighting in urban region. Previously, the Ukrainians are really pretty decent fighting in urban region, and they really like to fight in the villages, towns, and cities. Now it seems like they're just avoiding it. It could be related to the lack of training, like because the attrition rate has been so high. If you only use mobilized troops, and even if they have only you give them not the 2 weeks but 1 month training, it would still be insufficient. In fact, 3 month training would still be largely insufficient to fight in effectively in the urban region. So, but anyway, we shall see how this continue to develop. Over in the Sukhirine region, the Russian forces are fighting in the region of Kremena Balka, Voznesenka, and Novodimitrivka. The Russian forces geolocated northwest of Voznesenka confirms Russians have made huge progress in the south of Novodimitrivka, and they are already somewhat bypassing Voznesenka in a way. They are moving straight for the next village, which is Sonsivka. So this actually confirmed some of this previous reporting about fighting in this area here by the Russian Defense Ministry around 2 days ago. So that's interesting that the Russians are now going straight without the need for really capturing the small village. So let's continue to watch. Over in this yeah, how do I do this? Kurakhivka, I can't even zoom in. Okay, so in the Kurakhivka region, we can't even, this is Hirnyk front, Hirnyk sector by the way, but Hirnyk is getting a bit far away now. So fighting is reported at Novosilka. So just now I already mentioned Kremena Balka and Voznesenka, no, and the frontline change there. The Ukrainian mapping have acknowledged that the Russian forces have captured Kurakhivka. In their latest mapping, this is based on Ukrainian mapping, they have considered massive amount of areas in this area, including the entire northern part of Alexandropil, and the rest of Kurakhivka, all the way to into Voschenka, as well as the entire western outskirt of Hirnyk. So the Russian forces basically have as I have projected likely is going to happen. The Ukrainians have basically entirely ejected themselves from this area. The Russians basically just walking. So fighting is already moving towards Ilinka. There's fighting reported at Hostre according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And and fighting is reported at Kurakhove. This is part of the Kurakhove sector. So if we zoom in, we can see a bit clearer the areas that is captured. The rest of Kurakhivka in the entire southern part has been all entirely taken. In fact, they went into the Dacha region and entered into Voschenka already. The entire eastern part of Voschenka is gone, which was linked to the Dacha region in the south of Kurakhivka. And the entire mining region is also conceded by the Ukrainian side, claiming that the Russians have taken over this entire mining hill around here. So Voschenka most likely is not going to be held, given the tactical situation, as the Russians can attack in both directions. So I believe the Ukrainians have also already withdrawn from Voschenka. So because just south of it is a water body, there's a river, so the Ukrainians can't possibly stay here. They will be leaving. Probably they can hold a position at Ilinka and Stepanivka, maybe, but not ideal. So that's the current situation in the west of Hirnyk. You can see it's just open grounds, but this links with Novosilka, where the Russians are now pushing through. So this attack in the is basically a southern flanking movement south of Novosilka. So this will help in the offensive operations within the settlement. So that's all from this Hirnyk region. So at the Kurakhivka region, as mentioned already, fighting is reported at Kurakhivka. The Russian forces also expanded control according to Ukrainian mapping in the south of Maximilianivka as they continue to build up more and more buffer zone around these captured settlements. Fighting is now confirmed to be fighting moving towards Dane as reported by the Russian Defense Ministry as well. And we move further south over in the eastern part of Usmanivka sector. The Russians are fighting in the region of let me zoom in in the region of Konstantinivka. Geolocation of Russian forces in Antonivka confirmed Russian capture of the entire eastern part of Antonivka. And there is fighting reported at Katerinivka as well as Yelizavetivka. I believe this line over here, this line is just a static line. I don't think the Russians want to push this. I believe that they will want to at least take Antonivka, or at least straighten the front line before they before they will actually make this push into Katerinivka. So that's area here. Moving further west, over in the Vuhledar region, shelling is reported at Uspenivka already, and based on Russian mapping, the Russian mapping have shown that they have expanded their control in the eastern part of Vuhledar. This is based on Russian mapping, so this is not confirmed yet. But the fighting is moving towards Trudove right now. So this is Trudove, and the Russians are now pushing northward, expanding the buffer, putting pressure on Yelizavetivka and shelling Uspenivka. So this is the situation. Over in the western flank of the Uspenivka sector, the Russian forces have there is geolocation of Russian forces expanding deeper into Maximivka, and the Ukrainian mapping have confirmed that the Russians have captured Shatarsky, and this links up all the way to Yasna Polyana. And the Russian mapping have gone even further, including a buffer around Shatarsky, a buffer around Yasna Polyana, and linking all the way up to Maximivka. So this is based on Russian mapping. So Russian mapping claims that the front line has already straightened in the west of Maximivka. So I want to zoom into Maximivka. So according to Ukrainian mapping, this area here, this southeastern half or 1/3 of Maximivka is already confirmed to be captured by Russian forces, including the tree line, which means the Russians will continue to push the tree line, and that will create flanking operations or opportunities. But Russian mapping basically draw the line pretty straight, including the entire southern part of Maximivka. So this is the current tactical situation facing the Ukrainians over at Maximivka. So the Russians are very relentless in this sense. Over in the Shatarsky region, basically both Ukrainian and Russian mapping have mapped it that the Russian forces have taken the entire of Shatarsky. So previously Shatarsky was like stuck. There is not much information about it. So now it seems like the fog of war has been lifted. The Russians actually have captured the entire of Shatarsky, and the Russian claims that it's even bigger than that, including the western outskirts of Shatarsky as well. So that's all from this area. Over in the Velyka Novosilka sector, fighting is reported towards Rozdone, Velyka Novosilka, Vuhledar, as well as Makarivka. So this may start to look a bit more serious, given the advancement of the Russian front line at Shatarsky and Yasna Polyana. So I believe we need to take these attacks reporting a bit more seriously, because it is soon, pretty much the time soon for the Russians to really make a real push around this area here. And we move all the way to the Zaporizhzhia front. And the Zaporizhzhia front, weird things has happened. There is a lot of fighting being reported in the Kharkiv sector, particularly over in the northwest of Verbove. Russian forces seem to have made advance in this area here. According to Ukrainian mapping, this is by Deep State UA, Russian forces have straightened the front, basically link up the front line in a more sensible way, and captured grounds northwest of Verbove. Fighting is still being reported towards Mala Tomashka, Robotine, and towards Novodanilivka. Information is coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So suddenly I feel like there is a little bit more seriousness in the attack around here. We will need another few more days to really confirm if a real offensive operation is currently underway. Tentatively, we cannot tell at this moment. And then we move to the Kayamsky sector. Fighting is reported at Kayamsky, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, but that's all we know. And we move out. There is shelling reported at Stepney. Geolocation of a Lancet hitting a Ukrainian radar at Novosilka, just southwest of Zaporizhzhia. So there's a radar strike around here. So, and then over at the Kherson front, there is a lot of shelling report over in Kupiansk. This is the first time we've seen that. Bikilske, what is this? I forgot what's this place. Selydove, as well as over in Valentensky. So some shelling reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. Ukrainian Defense Ministry, however, broke their norm. Usually they write this. So they first posted this in their 4 p.m. report yesterday, where the Russians attacked the Pridniprovsky direction. However, later in the later report, they changed their wordings. So then they now have fighting reported at Kozache Lahiri, Kozatsky Island, and Dnipro. But this Dnipro is unclear. Is this a Dnipro island, or is this a Kozache Lahiri island? I really do not know. I can't possibly be fighting at Dnipro because Dnipro is a major city far away. So I can only map the fighting at Kozache Lahiri as well as at the Kozatsky island. So we will have to continue to wait. Maybe some mapping from the Russian or Ukrainian sources may be able to give us some indications on where the Russians are attacking. So tentatively, there is some change. So it's interesting. I wonder if this is a beginning of something new. But tentatively, that's about it. So anyway, this is the summary for the day of 983 for the 2nd of November. Do check out the conclusions, and I'll see you guys in the next update.